Hello guys and welcome to another video. I'm going to do something completely new in this video and I'm going to show you my entire commute from home to my office, but with a little bit of a spin. So usually, I think like most commute riders, I just take the most direct path from A to B, which is riding on Pacific Highway. But in this video here, what I'm going to try and do is ride the whole way from home to the office, but only take bike paths. How this video is going to work is I put a 360 camera on the front of my bike and I recorded my entire commute. This is almost entirely uncut. What I did take out though was if I was waiting at a traffic light for say a couple of minutes, I've cut that out just so you don't have to sit there and look at me wait for a light to change color. I'm going to try and provide a bit of commentary over the whole video, but if not, I'll put some music on and maybe you can just enjoy what the commute looks like. Alright, let's go. I live in St. Leonards, which is about 4 kilometers to the north of the city. But since we're taking the bike lanes in this video, I've ridden to my closest bike lane, which is the one on Herbert Street. You'll see here right now that I'm trying to merge over into the road, but the bike lane starts very soon, just past here. On the right of me right now, this is St. Leonards train station, which is one of the biggest train stations on the North Shore. And here we are, we're finally on the first of many bike lanes. Now, one of the unfortunate things about this one is it's not heading in the direction we need to go. This bike lane that we're heading right now is actually heading north, which is the opposite direction we need to go. But this is going to give us the safest way to the city. And you'll see why later, but this will take us to a completely exclusive bike path, which is off the road. Some other cool things to see in the footage. To my left hand side is Royal North Shore Hospital. This is the hospital I was actually born in, and it's a very big hospital in the North Shore. I think a lot of people in Sydney were either born there or have visited there. So a lot of the buildings around here are support facilities for that hospital.
Always had a way to make it work and find another route. Always had a way to make it work and find another route.
To my left here is the Australia Post Depot on the North Shore. This one's super handy because anytime I miss a parcel I can go there and pick it up, and it's open like for a lot of hours a day. And this driver here just pulls out and decides to just cross over into the bike lane. I did check behind me and luckily there was no cars, so look, no worries. But I would have preferred if the driver was a bit more considerate, like they would have seen me coming. So why did they pull out into the bike lane like that? Anyway, you're going to see a lot of instances like that, and I think that's almost the reason why people don't like riding in Sydney, is some drivers just don't really care about you at all. They just want to go about for whatever's convenient for them. But look, everyone's trying to get about their day, so whatever. So I'm in Atam now, which is the suburb to the north of St. Leonards, and I'm in the industrial area here. The industrial area is actually quite interesting. There's a few things in here that people don't know about. There's a council waste facility where you can drop off chemicals. So say for example you got some paint or some chemicals that you've used for paint stripping, methylated spirits, turpentine. This is where you can safely dispose of it, also dispose of things like batteries. And one other really cool thing about the industrial area here that I think is super underrated is there's the biggest manufacturing facility in Australia here. You would not know it at all. You can see it from the cycleway that we're about to go on. It's actually further to the north, but they make pumps for mining equipment. But anyway, this is probably the best part of the ride right now. We're going to go into the Ringle Freeway cycle lane, and this cycle lane actually goes for a long way, all the way onto Epping Road, but we're going to take it here from Atam to the next suburb over, which will be Commute. As you can see, it's a running and cycling track. There's 3 separate lanes. The lane markings are like all worn out, and I haven't ridden on here for a long time, so I've completely forgotten which side of the lane I'm meant to be on. But I'm just going to hug the left hand side here, and you can see Ringle Freeway to our left, which is one of the major highways that heads into the city. Right now we're going underneath the train line, and this cycleway actually connects a lot of the back streets of the suburbs. So you can see here we just popped into the little cul-de-sac, and then it's going to put us straight back onto a cycleway. This area here is great. I use it for running as well because it's nice. A little bit rolling hills, but also it's quite shaded. So you can look at, like right now, we're going underneath the highway and you've got this little canal running on the right hand side of it. So it's actually quite cool in here. If you guys are a fan of running, there's a park run that utilizes this track. The Willoughby Park Run. It leaves from Atam Reserve and it uses this track, little 5k out and back. I think something you're going to see though that is quite unfortunate is even though this piece of infrastructure is fantastic, I've only come across 1 or 2 other cyclists, and the reason for that is going to become very clear soon. Is that first of all, this is not a very direct way to the city. I've gone on quite a big detour to just get onto this cycle path, and second of all, you're going to see in a couple of minutes that this cycle path kind of leads to a little bit of a dead end, and that's no good. And there's a reason why people just decide to fang down Pacific Highway, because it just takes you the most direct way to get into the city rather than taking this like convoluted route in the back streets, and then which essentially just dumps you out somewhere random. But right now we're riding into Camaret. There's a steep uphill because we've just lost a lot of elevation, but we are finally heading in the right direction. We are heading south right now. The ironic thing is, if I turned onto this road on the right hand side and went straight, I would actually end up back at Leonards station where the video started. Anyway, the whole point of this video was to showcase to you guys some of the cycle paths, and I also just wanted to see for myself that if I wanted to take a completely safe route, what that would look like. By the way, believe it or not, it is still winter in Sydney, but it is super warm. I think this morning was about 20 degrees. I'm ready in my summer kit. The sun is out. We've got a little bit of cloud cover, but it's going to be a beautiful day. In fact, it already feels like spring. Alright, this is a cool little feature of the commute. We're going to head up this bridge now. We've got a few switchbacks in the cycleway, no worries. We've been practicing some tight corners at the crits, but this cycleway over the bridge takes you over the highway and you get an awesome view of both directions of traffic. Right around here is where Ringle Freeway becomes Ringle Freeway. Fun fact, Ringle Freeway is actually the widest traffic corridor in Australia. This is where all the traffic that wants to go to the northern beaches, the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Harbour Tunnel go. So there are going to be plenty of cars, and you're going to see right now sometimes why the bike is better than being a car, because they're going at a snail's pace, and we're not even pushing the pace, and we're going faster than some of the cars coming up soon. But I'm going to tag behind this other commuter. He seems to know where he's going. I have a rough idea of where I need to go, so I'm going to follow him. And we're back onto a bike lane next to the highway. We've got a nice barrier between us and the cars, which is going to end very soon. And we're going to be put onto this kind of weird footpath. The reason why I say the footpath is weird is because it's quite narrow, and then there's like street signs and like light poles in the middle of it, which make it kind of a bit unwieldy to ride around. Like for example, if I had a wide bike, I might be hitting that pole there, and without a barrier, it would feel quite unsafe. But like I said, we're about to start overtaking cars. We're easily going faster than them, even though we're not going that fast. And here I am checking out these dudes in their Tesla, seeing what they're up to, going on for a morning commute. Got another commuter coming our way, just give him a wave. Everyone's happy to be out on the bike. This is beautiful cycling weather. This is the kind of weather that you dream about as a cyclist. Alright, here is where I'm going to talk about the biggest flaw in this cycling route. I can't believe this is how the arrangement of this cycling route is meant to go, and I know I'm going to criticize it a lot, but it's probably like one of the worst things I've ever seen. This cycleway just abruptly ends right here, and you need to cross like 3 or 4 lanes of traffic to get to the other side. And you see here, I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm looking over my shoulder, and this commuter, he's obviously a bit more used to it than me because he sees a little gap in the cars and he just sends it. This lady comes up next to me, I say hi to her, beautiful day, have a little chat. And in the period of time where I'm talking to her and I'm looking away, the other dude just goes for it. And I should have just been a bit more attentive and paid attention, because what I soon find out is there's not many gaps in the traffic. And I'll pull up closer to the curb here just to have a look past these barriers. And I should have angled the camera a bit better, but there is not many gaps in the traffic. These cars are approaching, exit speed to go onto the highway, so they're not, they're not going slowly either. They're probably going about 60k an hour. But yeah, I'm gonna play this in its full length because I just stood here for ages waiting for a gap in the traffic, and this is so incredibly dangerous. Like, I can't believe that this is what the normal setup should be. Anyway, while I'm standing around looking at this whole thing and wondering what I'm meant to do, another cyclist, another commuter, just comes flying past right now. He's obviously got a good idea for when he should go. The lady goes as well, and I'm like, oh, I should have gone. And then I just duck behind these cars, quickly make my way over to the green cycleway, where we get an entire lane width to ourselves. Given that we've got a whole lane here, it actually would have been nice to see some delineation between the road and the cycleway. Could have put a concrete barrier in there, or even a little median strip. But anyway, it is short-lived. We're about to exit this bike ramp because it's going to become, well, it's literally going to end right here. And I'm going to have to go back on the road, and we get to a roundabout now. We are now in Camaray, and I'm going to turn right at the roundabout and go onto West Street. West Street is going to take us down to North Sydney, and I'm just looking out for cars here, giving a little hand signal, and around the roundabout we go. I've got some company of that other cyclist commuter. I've caught up to him, but I am feeling a bit energetic this morning, and I'm going to overtake him pretty soon. But you can see we are on not much of a bike lane, it's more just like a designated shoulder. Number one thing that you need to watch out for here is that people don't open their car door without looking and door you. That would not be pleasant. That bike lane has ended, or at least the road markings have completely worn off the road, but there is the occasional marking to show that this is a shared bike area. We're riding through the back streets of Croesus now, and the main aim here, like I said, is to get to North Sydney, which is not too far away. I'm going to filter through the cars here, join up with some other of my commuter friends. We've caught up to the lady on the pink e-bike. And now we're in the outskirts of North Sydney. There's a few really nice cafes around here. If I turn left here instead of going straight, you would end up at St Leonards Park, where a lot of our Pastries.CC weekend rides start. But this is an awesome, beautiful little area, very, very close to the city. The real estate prices here are pretty insane, but I wouldn't mind living here one day if I can afford it. But yeah, we're just going to keep riding along here. It's going to become, very soon, we're going to join up to a bike path, which you'll see here. We'll go around this car, and we're going to go onto this bike lane here. This is a newly constructed one by North City Council. But you're going to see there's like a few kids on there. There's rubbish bins semi in the bike lane. There's also this girl walking in the middle of it here, so I wouldn't say there's the best safety, but look, it's better than nothing. But I'm going to come into a very confusing situation right now. So I'm crossing the pedestrian crossing here. I see two other commuters turn right. This guy's coming here from the right as well. So I figured, okay, this must be the right way. You can see on the ground here, there's this blue outline on the path, which designates that this is a shared bike and path lane. So my assumption is I'm meant to just keep traveling along the path. But then we turn left and I look around, that blue marking ends, and I'm expected just to ride on the footpath here, which I don't consider very safe. So I'm really confused at this point. I'm looking at different signs on the road. There's one down there straight ahead that's pointing straight. Then if you look right to the left of the screen right now, our friendly e-bike commuter on the pink bike has just gone on one of these back streets. So it seems that that bike path that I was on before just seems to fork into 3 different directions, and everyone just picks their own destiny and picks whichever way they want to go. I'm not gonna lie, at this point I was pretty frustrated. I've been riding for like 20 minutes and I've only traveled realistically about 2 kilometers as the crow flies. If I'd left on my normal route, I'll be in the office about 5-10 minutes ago, and I probably would have been showered and changed already. And at this point, I'm not even in North Sydney, like business area yet. So at this point, I'm like, I'm not riding on the footpath. I don't want some pedestrians to get annoyed at me. I start looking for a chance to go onto the road. And my little experiment has failed a bit. Luckily, once I get through North Sydney, I know where to jump on for the bike lanes. So over here, I'm just looking at the best way to get onto the road, waiting for a gap in the cars. I felt a bit silly though, like the whole intention of this video was to not ride on Pacific Highway and to find bike paths to the Harbour Bridge and into the city, which didn't involve riding on a main road. And here I am, like 20 minutes later, doing the exact thing I was planning not to do. Anyway, is it my fault? Should there be better markings for cyclists on ways to go for back streets? I don't know. Maybe I should have done a better mapping exercise before I left home, but I really thought it'd be more intuitive. Anyway, we're riding through North Sydney now. We're very close to the Harbour Bridge. It's all downhill on the way there. A couple of years ago, I used to work in North Sydney, and this building here in that maroon colour on the right hand side of the screen is actually the building I used to work in, 101 Miller Street. That was super convenient because my commute home is like 1 kilometre. I could even walk it in about 10-15 minutes. But you know, working in the city is not too bad either. On the left hand side of the screen, that goes down to North Sydney train station, and I think this is a cycleway that people don't really know about, but you can go down this little side alley here, and it does say to dismount for cyclists. I'm going to do a half dismount where I unclip on one side, I've gone off the saddle, and I'm essentially kind of slowly rolling along with both hands on the brakes and one foot just hovering over the ground. Road cycling shoes are notoriously not great for walking on, so this is my halfway solution. I'm in very familiar territory right now. This is the way I would usually go right now, through this back street here, and then which would take us straight to Milsons Point Station and the Harbour Bridge. On the left hand side of the screen is all these little boutique car shops, and on top of that is actually the train line. So the train line runs on top of that all the way into the city. see on the road here that this road is designated as shared with bikes, but there's no like infrastructure in place to separate yourself from the cars. And on the left hand side of the screen is Milson's Point train station. I'm just going to pull over on the drop curb here because that bus is parked over there where I typically turn left. But here we are, the Sydney Harbour Bridge. This is how cyclists get on. For those of you who don't know, there's two sides of Sydney Harbour Bridge. The side that we're on is exclusively for bicycles, scooters, and anything on wheels. And the left-hand side of the bridge, which you can't see in here, but if you went through that tunnel, is the walking side, or people go running on there as well. This is something that's a bit of a sore point. I'm carrying my bike up the stairs, up onto the Harbour Bridge. There's been a proposal in for decades now to put a proper bike ramp in. This little ramp in the middle, I've seen people ride up it before, but it is incredibly steep. Even myself, as someone who considers himself as a climber, I wouldn't be riding up there. I think I'd probably stack it. But here we go, we get to the top of the ramp, and that's quite a lot of stairs. If you have a heavy e-bike, or there's people who commute with their kids on the back of the bike, I feel for them, because pushing that bike up the stairs would be a pretty hard task. So I'm quite keen for a bike ramp to go in. There is designs for one, and it's just been bouncing around forever. Anyway, we are finally on the Harbour Bridge. This is the most beautiful part of the commute. You get an awesome view of the harbour. It's just fantastic. This is probably the highlight of my day, going over the bridge both directions, in the afternoon and in the morning. That's my mate Steve. He's coming back from his Friday morning ride. You can't really see it on the screen right now, but the bottom right hand side of the screen in the very corner is Luna Park, which is a very famous theme park down on the harbour front. It's not a very nice theme park. It was constructed a long time ago. There's like one or two tiny roller coasters and a few other rides, but it is a Sydney icon. Passing through one of the beautiful towers on Sydney Harbour Bridge. And here's a fun fact for you, but the towers are actually just there for aesthetic purposes. The bridge is an arch bridge and it's fully self-supported, doesn't even need the towers, but they decided to add them in just to add a bit of visual flair. Now, off to the right hand side of the screen, we're looking down Sydney Harbour, and that actually becomes Parramatta River. If you follow that river and you're on a boat, you'd end up at Gladesville and some of the other suburbs that feature in my videos, such as Sydney Olympic Park. While I got you guys here, I'm using a brand new Commute backpack. In my day in the life video, a bunch of people asked me what backpack I was using, and I had to quite embarrassingly tell them I was using a backpack I've had for 10 years that I bought during university, and it was pretty run-of-the-mill, pretty old one from Jansport. So I thought, why not invest in a proper bike commuting backpack? And I was willing to spend a bit of money here because I just wanted something that did the job well, especially coming to summer. I wanted something with some ventilation on the back. So I bought the Osprey Metro, and I got the roll top one, which I think is discontinued actually, but I found one more online and it's been fantastic. It's got a few bike specific features which I found really, really useful. One of those is it's got a separate compartment for clean and dirty clothes, laptop sleeve, a few little pockets to carry all my bits and bobs. And one really cool thing is it's got a separate pouch on the back where you can actually stow your helmet. So if you guys want a full review of that backpack and show you how I pack my bag and everything that goes into it, that goes into my daily life that I bring into the office, I'm happy to make that video because that was a question that a lot of people asked me. Anyway, we've just come off the Harbour Bridge. Usually if I'm going directly into the city, I would turn left off that turn off, but I'm going to turn right, and I'm going to make my way down through the historic part of Sydney CBD, which is the Rocks. When they first colonised Australia, this is one of the first areas that they built up, and the Rocks features a lot of really beautiful sandstone buildings, and you're going to see some of the best parts of Sydney Harbour very, very soon. So I'm going to chuck a cheeky U-turn here. This guy's got a pretty cool number plate, 88 Siki. Anyway, we're going to ride down this way, and I'm almost at the office now, very, very close. I'm not sure if this is the best way to get there, but it's definitely the most scenic, and I'm excited to show you guys because I think you will love the view. Here in Sydney, we're incredibly lucky with our structures. We've got this beautiful sandstone everywhere. It's called Sydney Sandstone. It is incredibly strong. It's almost as good as concrete. And as you can see from a lot of the buildings around here, they're made from Sydney Sandstone. So we're being blessed in Sydney to have such an abundance of a resource that can be used for building and also structures. Anyway, this is the proper area of the Rocks that I'm in right now. It's another dismount area, so I'm just rolling through slowly. You can see people on their way to work. The area here is also, there's a lot of bars, restaurants and nice places to eat. Definitely a bit more of the upmarket part of town. If you arrive in Sydney on a cruise ship, this is probably where you're going to be walking around and spending a lot of your time. In fact, on the topic of cruise ships, as I roll through the boom gate here, this is Sydney's International Cruise Terminal on the left hand side, and you can see just the outline there of the Sydney the Opera House just in the background, which I'll show you a better view in a sec. To the right of the camera is the Museum of Contemporary Art. Really, really nice place. And you can see the Sydney skyline right here. We've got a few brand new buildings that have just popped up. But I rode over to this little nook here, and I'm going to lift up the bike because I want to show you the amazing view that we have here of the Opera House. And one of the powers of the 360 camera is you can zoom in on my face there. I probably didn't even need to lift up the bike because the 360 camera can capture everything. But yeah. So I'm just going to make my way over to my office now. My office is actually right on the edge of Circular Quay, so we're actually very, very close now. And I'm just going to make my way along this area here. And if you go here at lunchtime or after 5 PM, you almost cannot ride through here because there are so many people. It will be packed out. Not just people that work in the city, but also tourists. So yeah, really nice precinct. We're just crossing over some tram tracks now. This is the Sydney Light Rail, which got recently installed. It's been a great asset to the city. It allows people to move around within the city for quite a cheap fare between here and all the way to Central, which is maybe like 4 or 5 kilometres away, and then even to some of the outskirts parts of Sydney. They're planning to expand it a lot more. It'd be cool to see how it gets rolled out. But you can see here, half the bike lane has been taken up by these construction activities. They've got some lollipop ladies managing it. It's not too bad. A bit dodgy having some live loads going on next to the bike lane, but it's okay. But yeah, we're on Pitt Street right now. Pitt Street is a one-directional street, which goes all the way into the heart of the city. We're not going to go too much further. Well, actually, that's my building right there on the left. And we're going to pull up at this intersection and wait for the traffic light. Looking at the total length of this footage, it took me a bit over half an hour from door to door to get in. That's pretty abysmal considering I think it was about 10 kilometres, so you can see there's a lot of stopping and starting in slow areas. Definitely is faster if you just go straight on Pacific Highway down to the Harbour Bridge. I can usually get door to door that way in about 15 minutes. So look, the bike pathway is not optimal, but I would say it did feel a bit safer apart from that sketchy bit where I had to cross a few lanes back in Camaret. Just rolling up the ramp here, gonna get into my office, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. A bit of a different one on my channel, but I thought I'd just give you something that's a bit of a different flavour, just some commentary, tell you little fun facts about Sydney and show you a bit of my day-to-day life. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.